Good afternoon. It's been a long time. I'm the founder of CaribLuxe, Nicole Salvi, and I invite you to be one of our subscribers, like and share every one of our videos. We are the only high end wedding and travel magazine and concierge platform for the entire Caribbean. So, with that said, I'm going to be launching a number of different types of programs and episodes on CaribLux, and I hope that you tune in to actually be a part of our family. So, the first one that I'm very proud and excited to launch this evening is our Hot Topics, where we cover all the hot news that is happening in the region today and for the entire week. So let me just commence with the hot topics. And I'm going to start in the actual region, the actual news that's happening, that's pertinent right now in each country. So I'm going to start with one of my hometowns, which I have a dual sort of love and nationality. One is the Cayman Islands, the other is Jamaica. So, Cayman, if everybody knows, is a country that is relatively low when it comes to crime, almost, non existent sometimes. And when it does happen, it's a big to do. So, Caymanians love, they're quiet, but when anything shakes that peace and tranquility, it's a huge upheaval and a lot of chatter. Yeah. So, one of the things that's making its round not only here on YouTube, but on social media in general is the sentencing of a Jamaican national by the Caymanian courts last it's Friday, I believe. Yes, last Friday, Friday the 3rd of October. Jamaican national George Orlando Sr. was actually sentenced, unfortunately, to life in prison with no possibility of parole. That's so sad. He was given 34 years and 8 months. That's literally he's done for. But even though he's done for, he took the life of a very young chap in front of his 2-year-old daughter. And that's literally unforgiving. You can't really overlook that sort of thing. So the jury actually convicted Senior of shooting Devonte Hernandez, who was only 25. It's very sad. He shot him in the chest at point blank range, which is very dreadful, and especially in front of his daughter, which is hugely traumatic for that child. She will never, ever get over that. And as a result of that, undoubtedly, it has created a seismic sort of shift in the normal, peaceful islands. So that's what's happening in Cayman when it comes to serious crime and serious news. Now, on a silly side, so I've labeled it here silly robbery attempt. Would you believe it? So, police are looking for thieves who actually used a backhoe. Can you imagine? In a failed bid to make off with cash from the National Credit Union ATM, guys. Can you imagine that? Madness. Early in the morning on October the 5th, a press release by the credit union said that the ATM actually sustained no damages, so it was foiled. They were not successful, and no cash. So you imagine they went, and as we're going to say in Caymanian, didn't get nothing. They went through all of that and they didn't get nothing. And in English, that means they went through all of that effort for absolutely zero. Good, bravo. So, that was a complete failure. Fantastic. Now, moving on to Jamaica, in a more positive news, Jamaica and Barbados, which you might have seen, I hope you've seen, our 100 hours in Barbados. It was fantastic. A video on our last trip there. So, Jamaica and Barbados have agreed to implement a joint youth exchange program under the Regional Youth Agricultural Strategy to strengthen cooperation in livestock and crop production, which is a fabulous initiative. Jamaica is massive, a country of over 150 miles long and about 50 miles wide. So therefore, they should be actually producing enough food not only to sustain themselves, but equally to the entire Caribbean. So this initiative literally will be commencing this quarter in 2025 into early 2026. On a sad note, still in Jamaica, a partially burnt body of a 13-year-old girl. Her name was, Santina Sargent. She was a high school student. She was found in the bushes of Manchester on Monday, the 6th of October. To date, it has been suggested, unfortunately, that she was a victim of SA. On YouTube, you have to be very careful what you actually say, and by her own father, which is extremely, extremely sad. The case is now, of course, under investigation, and we will be getting updates simultaneously with everything that's going on. Police are reporting for the entire island that murders are down across all 19 divisions, of course, with the exception of St. Anne. That is where you have Little Ochi. So, in entertainment news, still with the Jamaican diaspora, reggae superstar Jacure, whom I actually love some of his music, he's fantastic, an excellent linguist, faces the possibility of a longer prison sentence in the Netherlands as Dutch prosecutors have signaled their intention to pursue a longer prison sentence for the sort of disgraced singer. Very unfortunate. This is not his first run in with the law, and this chap seems to have a pingent, a sort of pull to negative criminal things. Now, the big news, huge, it's massive for the region, is there is a looming threat of regional war in the Caribbean. Now, without a question mark, that is going to destabilize the entire region. Tensions are now comparable to a pressure cooker in the Caribbean as the US continues to be the antagonist off of the coast of Venezuela. If the situation continues, unfortunately, as I said earlier, it will completely create huge disruptions in the Caribbean region. Earlier this week, the New York Times reported that Trump has actually called off diplomatic talks with Venezuela. So, therefore, there's no more diplomacy. And we all know how that can potentially end not very good. As a result of the mounting tensions in the region, Trinidad and Tobago's fishermen are now fearing for their lives as well as their livelihood, which is very sad. In the last attack, at least 4 people were killed, taking the death toll right now to over 21, which is very sad, unnecessary sort of carnage. Since the entire thing started on September the 3rd, as part of Trump's, and I smile very unaffectionately, Trump's administration, their sort of wager of war on the cartels. Yesterday, Venezuela's government actually requested an emergency session with the United Nations Security Council focused on the US military actions in recent weeks in their waters. So Venezuela actually stated that the mounting threat from the US, which is conducted many sort of military strikes on the so-called alleged drug boats of Venezuela, is a serious situation. Moving to closer yet again, that's all the pertinent news, and we have to really, from the Caribbean, we really have to really keep an eye on what's going on with that U.S.-Venezuela sort of standoff. In the U.S. now, the government crisis is really bad now. Just over a week amid the U.S. government shutdown, financial hardships have actually reached federal workers. Their paychecks are taking a hit. They're getting paid significantly less than what they would normally do. In addition, airports in Southern California, can you imagine? LAX and all the lights, they're actually having no traffic controllers, which is extremely, listen to me, extremely dangerous. The FAA is being forced to actually slow down the air traffic, which yet again is not a healthy or good situation. If the shutdown continues, which right now there's a standoff between the Republicans and the Democrats, it will, without a question, have massive impacts on every aspect of life in the US when it comes to the government. So, what am I talking about? I'm talking about everything from the postal service, schools, to public transportation, guys. This is not a good situation. It really needs to be fixed. Then another situation that's happening, ICE are continuing their terror throughout the cities. The latest unfortunate sort of victims or victim of this is the actual targeted city of Chicago. Per Don Lemon's The Lemon Show today, I saw that he was on the ground, and it was totally horrible. To see the United States sort of go down this rabbit hole of tension and unrest and violence is just really disturbing. The latest ramifications from this immigration crackdown is dramatically reduced flights that are arriving at major airports such as JFK. I witnessed that last week for myself, where there was nobody hardly in the arrivals. You went through within 5 minutes, which is unheard of for JFK. So, everybody from business travel right down to tourism is sinking. So, we really need something done in this country. So, that's the latest, some of the pressing, really sort of emergency situations and urgent crisis that's happening in America. And then, closer to home here in the New York tri state area, you talk about the ultimate revenge, or call it karma. Either one. New York Attorney General Letitia James was indicted yesterday in Alexandria, Virginia, as Donald Trump, yet again, his Justice Department continues to pursue charges against his political opponents. And if you remember, she was the one that was willing and happy to put him in the slammer. And also, she betrayed very, very dreadfully Andrew Cuomo. So, as I said, is it revenge or is it karma? We'll have to see how that one unfolds as well. On a lighter note, as we wrap up this afternoon, one of the biggest social media scandals within the Jamaican diaspora involves the quasi sensation on YouTube, Alicia Kim. She's been swept into a rather public and immensely embarrassing scandal when it comes to herself and her ex-husband. I appeared, well, not physically, but my voice was on Vibe Studio earlier this week. And we had a really amazing session. And he's a fantastic young man. He will be appearing on my channel here as well. And I voiced my opinion, telling him that, it was really unnecessary for all of this to go down so publicly and so disgracefully. It's just unnecessary. While she is sort of marred in her reputation and brought into this massive scandal, fellow Jamaican YouTubers, I won't name any names, are having a field day, both monetarily as well as from a trending perspective. So, they're cashing in on somebody's misfortune. And I'm not going to sort of state whether, who's wrong. I'll only say there's three sides to every story: her side, his side, and the truth. So, with that said, this is the perfect example of things that you shouldn't do on social media. When it comes down to potential lies, manipulation, and greed, greed, greed. Greed always gets you in trouble every time. So, with that said, it's a situation that it's not good at all. In this case, this is a prime example, a fantastically bad example of social media gone wrong. And as a result of that, we all like sensationalism and negativity. Some of us, but I would say 90% of people love to sort of hear all the sensational, scandalous things that are happening. So, as I said, you have to know how to conduct yourself. In any event, this is the first of many of our hot topics here on CaribLuxe. And I wish you a fantastic remainder of the evening, the day, the morning, wherever you may be around the world. And thank you again for joining me on Hot Topics. Take care. Bye bye now.